Hello, hello. For this assignment, there are a few that you missed. I know that it was a little bit tricky, and so I am going to go over the answers with you to help you figure out what you did wrong so that you could resubmit your quiz. So go ahead and take out your quiz. Um, Make sure that you're following along and looking for your mistake. So for the first one, it says when 6 is added to 4 times a number, the result is 50. Find the number. Okay, remember you can always go back to that chart that I gave you in the video notes. I'm going to scroll back to it here. You can always go back to this chart to help you figure out what words mean what operation. Okay, there we go. When 6 is added to 4 times a number, the result is 50. Okay, so when 6 is added to, well, we know that that means add. Okay, so when 6 is added to, and then we've got 4 times a number, 4 times a number, and then this is the part where we put our equal sign. The result is 50. Okay, and then our last step in this is to find the number. So the solving equation part of this should be easy for you guys. This is just a regular two-step equation to solve for n. We need to get rid of the 6 on both sides. We're going to do a subtract 6, which leaves us with 4 times n equals 44. Then we divide by 4, n equals 11. Okay, next question. The sum of a number and 9 is multiplied by -2, and the answer is -8. So let's take this one step at a time. So the first step, the sum of a number and 9. Let's write that. The sum of a number and 9. So sum means addition. So this is what the sum of a number and 9 looks like. Okay, then we have to take that and multiply it by -2 because it says the sum of a number and 9 is multiplied by -2. So we're going to have to do the sum of a number and 9 first. So we're going to put that in parentheses, and then whatever that sum is going to get multiplied by -2. And then the answer is, that's where our equal sign goes, the answer is -8. And then from there we just have to solve this equation. We have to distribute the -2. So that would be -2 times n. -2 times 9 is -18 equal to -8. And then from there we're solving for the n. So you would first get rid of the subtract 8 by doing an addition of 8 on both sides, 18 on both sides. Sorry, we're going to get rid of the subtraction of 18 by doing an addition of 18 on both sides. And then we're going to have -2 times n equals, when you put that in your calculator, put it in as -8 plus 18, and that gives you a positive 10. And then from there, to get rid of the multiplication of -2, we're going to use division. So n equals -5. Okay, question number 3. Okay, this one is a little bit tricky. So let's read through it and then figure out our plan of action here. So if 4 is subtracted from twice a number, the result is 10 less than the number. Okay, so let's take this one step at a time. If 4 is subtracted from twice a number. So we have to be very, very careful here. We can't do this. This would be twice a number subtracted from 4. And what we want our problem to say is that 4 is subtracted from twice a number. So we have to write down the twice a number first, and then 4 is subtracted from that. Okay, now the next part, and then the result is, okay, so that's our equal sign. The result is 10 less than the number. Okay, you guys remember whenever it's the less than, We have to be very, very careful that we write this correctly. 10 less than the number. So we have to write the number first and then 10 less than that. Okay, 10 less than the number, that is not correct. Okay, please do not do that. Make sure that if it says less than, know that that is going to change our problem around. So we're going to write the number first, and then we're going to do the subtract 10. Okay. Now from here, we need to get this term and this term to be on the same side. We're going to subtract n from both sides. So 1n minus 4 equals negative 10. And then our last step is to add 4 to both sides. So we get n equals negative 6. Okay, 2 more. 3 times the number divided by 2 is the number divided by 4. So let's do this one step at a time. 3 times the number divided by 2. So 3 times the number divided by 2. Okay, so is, there's our equal sign, so is the number divided by 4. The number divided by 4. And now you guys can see that for question number 4, we end up with a proportion. And the way that we solve a proportion is to cross multiply. Okay, so remember, anytime you have two fractions equal to each other, we call that a proportion. And to solve a proportion, we cross multiply. So 4 times 3n is 12n. And 2 times n is 2n. And this looks a little tricky. 12n is equal to 2n, but it's not. We just need to get this term and this term on the same side. So we can either subtract 12n from both sides or subtract 2n from both sides, which that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract 2n from both sides. So that gives us 10 times n equals, when we do a 2n and a minus 2n, we're left with a 0. And now our last step to get the n by itself is to get rid of the multiplication of 10 by using division. And anytime you divide 0 by anything, your answer is going to be 0. So n equals 0. That is our solution. Okay, last one. An integer n is added to 2, and that sum is then multiplied by 3. That result is 5 less than the original integer. What is the integer? Please pay careful attention to this one. I know there's one really, really similar to this on your final block test. Okay, so let's take this one step at a time. An integer n is added to 2. Okay, well that part's easy. An integer n is added to 2. Okay, so we just did that part. An integer n is added to 2. Okay, and that sum is then multiplied by 3. Okay, well that sum is then multiplied by 3. Okay, next part. That result is, okay, so there's our equal sign. That result is 5 less than the original integer. Oh boy, there's that less than again. Okay, so it's not this. It's not 5 less than. It has to be this. It has to be the original integer and then minus 5. This is 5 less than the original integer, not this. Okay, and then from there we just go ahead and solve. So we're going to distribute the 3 to both of these guys. So that's going to be 3 times n is 3n plus 3 times 2 is 6 equal to n minus 5. And then from there we are going to subtract n from both sides. So 2 times n plus 6 equals, we have to be careful, this is a negative 5. And then we minus 6 from both sides. So we get 2 times n is equal to negative 11. And I ran out of space here. 2 times n is equal to negative 11. So then to get rid of the multiplication of 2, we would use division. So n equals negative 11 divided by 2. And this is a fraction answer, and that's okay. Okay, you guys, so get these problems turned into the assignment box now that you've done them correctly, and move on to working on the final block 1 test review. See you guys soon.